Hello, everyone. This is Matthew with Black Door Capital. Let's just get right into it. It's Wednesday. It is May the 13th, and markets are closed about 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, moving on down to quickly have a look at Forex Factory. We have tonight at 7:30, we have some Australian and New Zealand red flag news if you're in any positions with that. So going back to Sunday, the 10th, we had a few things on our radar and a few things we weren't sure of, and the dollar was one of them. And it really just highlights the beauty of just waiting, just allowing things to come to you. I'll show you kind of what's happening with the dollar. I believe it was this candle here, and we were not really sure which direction things were going. So we sat on our hands. That was a discussion we had in the last video. So after this, the last few days, we have a clearer picture. So prices rolled over, and then it didn't like that. You can see that it was strongly rejected, and it headed on off. Or last time it did that, it headed off and hit this channel that we're forming, this wedge. So I'm anticipating that. I'm anticipating a lot of strength here, and to at least get up to here. This is I traded it in something a couple different instruments, and they're posted in the ideas. But yeah, I would be looking for a little more upside. I am positioned in a U.S. yen trade um, currently, and we'll get into that a little bit further down. So I think over the last few days, we've had a bit of a better picture on what the dollar is doing. And so obviously, strength in the dollar drives down the euro. Or in the index, pardon me. We we had talked about the last time being down into the more extreme side of the channel, and so going further on, we have had that, and we're pushing up against something. To me, I think I'd hate to say it, but I think we're on for a little bit more dollar strength, at least up to kind of a 180, or pardon me, 100.80. Um, I, I don't, I, that's just where my head's at. And I'll trade it, and I'll trade it carefully. I'm always willing to be wrong, and I have my stops in place. But the way I'm trading it is not in the euro right now, although I do believe this is a flag to the downside. I scalped it a little bit today, but is in the US yen, and this is what I'm seeing. It's an idea that I've posted. There it is there. And it is, what time was that? Okay, so yeah, this morning. So if we look at what's happening with this dollar, it had this really strong run up. And this was something I pushed out to the Telegram group, this short here. So I wrote it down. I got out around there just because it was starting to kind of bottom out a little bit. Always expecting to miss a bit of the, or as long as I get the meat of things, I'm happy. But it hadn't hit that like luscious 50 fib level that I love. And so what I look at just the way it starts building out support. Now this is just on a 1 hour, but you start having some other areas of support and resistance start building out here. Um, the the 50 and the oh, click something wrong there. The 50 and the 61.8 fib are my sweet spots in there, but the 50 especially. And you can see that it's starting to build. It showed some rejection. It's even had a nice pullback. And theoretically, in a perfect world, I would expect it to go long. I am long on this now, so I grabbed a scalp and then I went long, but I missed here. And this is a great trade. We don't have to trade all day. We don't have to be in 100 trades a day or a week or anything. If we just do a bunch of these skills well, day in and day out, it will amount to something. If we just wait, if we're just patient, if we're not emotional and revenge trading, if we're just organized in our approach, we can do well. So I saw the pattern, I took it, I ran it down, but then I had alerts set and all that sort of thing. So you want to just be ready to kind of manage a trade. And maybe it's an alert that just simply tells you to go to break even or get closer. I do that a lot. I'll move stops for the sake of argument. If I had here, if I had a stop here and this price had moved up and then it moved down, this wave to me is somewhat completed. So maybe I'd move my stop a little bit closer there, not the straightest of lines, but that's something that I would do. I'd start tightening those stops up without being, um, too tight where any vicissitude is going to take you out. So that's a tactic that I use of just lessening your downside without increasing the probability of you being stopped out. So moving on, we have I guess I'll leave that there. But so we've had a pullback, we've had a strong run up. It's broken through some fairly major levels, and I would be looking for more upside, and that goes with our dollar thesis. And this is how I'm trading this event right now: is this extreme run up, a pullback, showing a signal, and looking for more upside from here. So yeah, that's how I'm positioned right now. Nothing huge. Whatever day we're on, it's Wednesday. So yeah, there's a new indicator that I'm using. Working with a gentleman who operates a fund in the UK, and I'll have more details for you in the future. But he's come up with this indicator, and it's called at this point a heat map, and we're going to keep an eye on it. And as as the market unfolds, we'll see where if you start lining up some of these divergence where the signals are firing to see what is making sense. One, it's a beautiful indicator, and you can see that it does have some efficacy in various areas. Now, I'm working with a gentleman to come up with, really a course on this of how to read it, what rules to apply to it. Like, are we never taking a trade if it's um, below, if you're below a 200 EMA on the daily, are you ever going to go long? Like these sort of things. So we'll figure that all that out, what makes sense, and then we'll back test it, and we'll have a look what works, and we'll put it out and see if there's any value in this. But I think this indicator is showing some promise. This is a limitation of this indicator, as most is if you notice you're in a sideways market. There's nothing really trending or moving around in a nice smooth trend, and this is where the indicator can't really handle um, giving you really solid triggers, in my opinion. Um, I'm not sure why I didn't paint the bull signal there, but you can see that the conditions are met. Anyway, so moving on, I just wanted to. This is going to be a learning. This is open for myself right now to play with. We're going to be looking at it. We're going to be learning about it, and we'll roll it out. Maybe it'll be something that's part of the packages. So okay, so moving on from where are we? From the dollar yen, we got. You can see I've already logged this trade, and I believe we're going to be going to the upside. So we've discussed that, but it is a log trade. So moving on, someone was talking about this today. A gentleman was talking about this today, and he says he's going long, and I just don't see it. I think there's a bit more downside coming. Yet again, you have double tops here, and I don't see it. I still don't see it. I wouldn't be going long here. It's already maybe starting to flag a bit, but these have been significant runs down. So going with the dollar strength yet again, unless something major changes, I believe that'll drive down the pound. And you can see these step downs that it's already kind of not suffering through, but I wouldn't want to be even touching anything until we're there, um, if not even lower. I don't know why it's just constantly painting. Yes, that's why. So yeah, this is an area where I wouldn't even be interested in looking at this trade until it got at least a second pivot, and then I just feel like that's too easy. I'd look a little bit deeper, but we'll talk about that. The next currency pair is going to be the Australian dollar against Canadian dollar. No notes. We were kind of all like, I'm not sure what to say. I'm not sure what to say. But this is all going back to the U.S. dollar. I see a little more downside, at least to that EMA there, but I'm not in this trade. I'm not interested. I was in that trade, and I was lucky because I traded that and actually got out. And I was talking to the guy that I was I had felt that I had traded enough. I was within that range, and I just took it. I just took my profits and ran, and I'm happy I did. A lot of times you watch something go further and you kind of kick yourself, but this time I didn't, and protected myself. Waited for a little bit more clarity. I mentioned in the last video that I was already in it, even over a weekend. Tisk, tisk. But yeah, I got out there. I'm very lucky I did because I was already tight with my stop. I can't remember if I was in break even or not, but it was a couple bucks and I moved on. So more downside or upside for that. Um, but I don't see going back to that. My apologies. You're at least coming up to here and breaking out, but I don't see a good entry at this point. I'd want to see it pull back and carry on. So this is on the 4 hour here, so let's try to do the dailies to start. So with this, we have more rolling over. You can see the weakness in that hole. You can just see the weakness coming up in this whole trend. And when you start looking at something like this, where that weakness is building, it's rolling over. Um, Let me show you something else. When you start putting all these pieces together, you have a run up. Now, yeah, we could be doing a little bit of curve fitting here, I guess, if you will. But when you start looking at it, we're having a hard time breaking above that 61.8. If I went up further, you could just come up with another. It's at the 50 or whatever. Now this is a bit of it's a tough one. It's a little subjective area because where would people be fibbing? Where would the computers be fibbing from? What peak? Is that too far back in their algorithms? So anyways, we're building out a bit of a case study here. And if we look back into the pattern here, when you start getting these peaks, and a lot of people know them as a head and shoulders pattern. Now these are not as clearly defined, but you're starting to get peaks and smaller peaks over last peaks and stuff like that. So when you start putting this all together, you have a flag, potentially a retracement coming back over, you have price rolling over, you have candle patterns up into EMAs, you have what looks like a bear signal on this one, beautifully illustrating what we're talking about. And then you also have price rolling over and head and shoulders patterns and stuff, plus you're underneath a 200 EMA on the daily. So and divergence right in the indicator as well. So for me, yeah, that this is more downside. It's something I'm not going to trade. I'm already trading a US dollar. I already have exposure to that. So, but when you start building these pictures out, you can be much more comfortable and feel more professional that you're making decisions based on not just, oh, that's a engulfing candle or something like that. You're not chasing a trade, you're allowing it to come to you. And just showing you the value of just not sure, sit on your hands, wait a couple days, and let the market tell you what's what. And I find that is infinitely of value. So moving on, we looked at this one last time. We were talking about oil, so I'm just going to jump to that. Um, and a lot of what I'm talking about, this is like the fireside chat. It's a discussion of what we're up to, but I'm also trying to reference a video off the top of my head. I don't have many notes in front of me here. So as we go along, as I get more proficient at this, this is just how I hack through charts. And as I get more organized to show you the best way to do that, I feed off your suggestions, and maybe there's something that you'd like to see me do that would help you in your learning. Let me know, and I will definitely make that change. So oil, we weren't sure. This was a few days ago, and it has done nothing. Excuse me, it's just gone sideways. And these little diminutive candles, I'd be looking for a break to the upside, but I'm sitting on my hands with that one, and vice versa. That's what I'm doing with US CAD now. Yeah, as I said, I think if you start looking at this, you have your triangles, but then you have your what's called a climax here as it enters into a triangle, which is a continuation pattern up here. So it's just getting pretty with the charts, and yeah, so that's what I'd be looking at, but I don't know. I'm not sure, so I'm sitting on my hands with that one. This is an idea that we discussed, and let me zoom in here. This was an idea that was discussed in a trade right there, beautiful, and that was on the 11th, and it's done that nicely. I just deleted that that level, but I'm not sure what pattern that was on. Yeah, so you can see it's had a beautiful run up, and now we've broken above an EMA. We're kind of flagging along. I would be looking for more upside, and that's the idea that I posted a couple days ago. And let's have a quick peek here. So yeah, and it just ideally carried on, which it's done, and that's where we are right now. So um, keeping an eye on this, but I'm in an active trade. This one was just discussed. Yeah, I see it on social media a little bit. I am very careful who and what I look at, my exposure. I like to come up with my own ideas. But this one kind of crept in as I was on. Some guys have just very clean charts on Instagram and stuff that I came across. I don't think I'll take it because it's a yen pair, but we've had a run up. But it's after this wave we've had a run up. We're under that EMA, the daily. We've pulled back up to this area, and it'll be interesting to see if this runs away. Now the indicator's saying that it's a hidden bear, um, and to me that was just a flag. So there could be more upside, could be more down. I'm not really sure at this point, um, but I'm going to sit on my hands with this one. Moving on. This one is something I'm not trading. I don't have an opinion, but it is scooping in a way, but nothing that I'm interested in. You could kind of laser focus in and say, hey, we got a spinning top, or not really a doji. It would have to be zero body, but a spinning top in line here. So that's something maybe of value. But um, I'm not going to be chasing anything too grand at this point. Yeah, nothing that's jumping off the chart for me. Isn't a pair I trade often. I wanted to have a pretty complete list of charts for you guys. If there's something you want me to add, let me know. But the Euro Swissy, having a look, I'd be short. If I had to do anything, I'd be looking short on this one. And a little more downside would be something I'd be looking for. I know we're at a beautiful level. Um, certainly not missed, but I don't have enough of an idea, and something like this where you maybe could say you have a shoulder, and a head. Are you trading a pattern like that? I don't know. I'd wait for it to break the retest and the fall away again, but that's just me. All right, so we have let's just have a look here. Okay, let me just. All right, I just want to see if we're. I just had to have a sip of coffee here. All right, so moving in, we have uh, we have the odd CAD. Uh, where are we here? Anything interesting going on here? Definitely coming up. The odd's been so strong lately. Um, I don't have anything to, especially compared to the New Zealand dollar. I don't have anything. This one's a tough one. You'd be looking for the drop away, but it almost looks like it's going to break. So I'm just going to wait. If it drops away, I'd get in on that pullback. If it drops away, I get in on that pullback. I'll let the market tell me what it's up to on that one. But I'm in a few other trades, so correlation is an issue for me right now. Yeah, no, we had that line set out a few days ago. There's your answer. There's your pullback or your drop. We were in that triangle, and I hadn't touched these lines since Sunday night. It's not a pair I watch often, but a perfect illustration. Here I just hand bombed some quick lines, and you can see where it dropped below, came up, retested, presented a beautiful candle, a hammer, shooting star, whatever, on a little mini uptrend, and then it's dropped away, and it's going to flag and drop away probably some more. That is not hard to learn. That is not what the hard part is, sitting on your hands and saying, I'm not sure. I'm just going to wait for it to do what it wants to do, wait for it to get to those extremes. The market's always going to be here and it's always going to be moving with or without you. So the patience is what is key here. But a great example of waiting, setting your order with all the others and dropping away, and you have an encouraging trade at this point. So sometimes with these pairs, my spreads are a little more than I feel I need to pay. And if I can get into a trade where it is where the spread's a little bit more advantageous for myself and my trade, then I will take it that way. But okay, so we have some lines drawn here that we were saying we're looking to go short anyways. So you can see the arrow that I drew, and yet again, I haven't really come and changed these lines or added anything. You can refer back to the previous video. You can see that it has started to roll off. That weakness is continuing here. And I would expect a little more downside till we're starting to get to some more support areas for price. That might be a little extreme, but that's where we're going to start looking for ideas. All right, so the odd yen, nothing too exciting here. Now this is yet again, would it be that peak or that peak there? But let's toss on a fib and see if we can get an idea of where things are headed. I think we're going back to very similar looking pattern. Um, maybe not. Anyways, moving on. If you were to look at this wave, we're up in the 61.8, and if you were to take out the old trusty drawing tools, this is on a daily double top on a daily, and if you just started dropping down, what does that look like? Certainly not much different. It's still double top showing. You have a bear and a divergence. So this is definitely a trade idea that I'm going to make a note of that I'll be watching for sure. And this is what you need to do is just sort of chip away at the charts. Self-professed, sometimes I don't go into these other charts that I should be because I don't often watch them. But if I'm putting them in the video, maybe I should give them a quick little look past and go to looking at um, for our weekly analysis. But this whole website, this whole journey is very dynamic and constantly being improved upon. And I'm excited for you to join along and for us to profit in the long term. All right, so moving on. So this one's interesting. Now, there's some pretty stiff economic news coming out tonight. Now, normally I would say break, flag, and continue on, but uh, you know, I just don't know. I just don't know what, like, sure, we might get a little bit higher, but it's so overbought. Um, and if we just get, I'm working off just my laptop right now. I usually have another one or two monitors that I'm working off of, so I apologize as some of these tools are just directly in the way. But yeah, so let's have a look. Yeah, I'd be looking to get a little bit longer and then maybe a short from there. But this weekly candle here has definitely been showing some weakness. We have that trend line. It can obviously go off to anywhere, but it's going to be getting to the end of its rope at this point. Plus, if we go back tonight, we have some major news coming out, and that could really hammer this pair. As earlier, of course, the poor economic news of the New Zealand dollar sent it skyward. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. I might even set an alert for that. Um, what do we want to say to ourselves? So we'll set it for resistance. And that's just a good resistance area. So we'll leave that there. I'll even lock that in place. The little alert showed up. We don't have on the weekly, we don't have any heat mapping warnings. We have a hidden bear, so there's your flag. And even if you look at that, if you look at follow the line up and down, you have the bear signal there, and it is correct. So this heat mapping does need a lot more. Um, it needs a lot more study, but it's showing validity in my opinion. It looks super cool, and it helps. It requires a little bit of study on the graphical like understanding and the depiction of it, but it's yeah, I'm excited to give it a little more back testing as well, and I appreciate the opportunity. So, okay, let's move on. We're looking for downside on that one eventually, but not yet. So moving on, this is the Euro odd, and let's see here. This is, we'll see what happens. I'm kind of, we got Euros going on, we got odds going on, we got odds and Euros going on, Euros and odds. This is just odds and evens, and we just it's just a lot sometimes when you get down into these more obscure charts than I often look at. Sometimes when you want to figure out what to trade, it's easier to trade these instruments against various other things. But I'm not super convinced about this double bottom. Um, it's just kind of rolling over a little bit, but we'll see. And the heat map hasn't said anything. So we'll just keep an eye on these things. And I like the fact that these are recorded videos that I can go back and check. Hong Kong dollar, was flat last time. This is just my own personal interest. Flat last time, and it has not done much more. Incredibly flat, actually, right along that support line. To me, I don't know what that is signifying. Maybe it's rolling up in the way you get the kind of that cup and saucer, pardon me, a cup and handle um, scooping of price, especially over such a long time frame. This is going back to March. So yeah, we'll just keep an eye on it and see. Bitcoin, don't really trade it much. It's doing what it loves to do, and it's flying around, flopping around. Um, it's broken above 200 EMA on the daily, kissed it, and we'll see how far that has to go. Right now, the S&P moving on. So you have also the bear signal that has triggered that you have that you have. Maybe I'll just stick with that for a minute. That you have the bear signal has triggered there, and then the next few candles it rolled over. So yet another example of where this indicator smacking you in the mouth is showing value. You have a small bit of divergence there and a bear signal. To be fair, really nice big candle. You wouldn't have been blamed for taking that trade. I think I might have even spoken about it. Getting this signal, it would have just been a loss, and you would have been controlling it and waiting for it to run up again. So um, keep an eye on this indicator. So I think I posted this. Let me have a quick little look here. The short idea, yep. So today I posted this idea going back to Fibonacci's being run. Um, you're up in the zone. We love seeing things in the zone. So we've got that confirmation. We're up against a 200 EMA. Let's be honest, on a macro level, like where is the economy going? Nobody is working. Everyone's living off their credit cards or savings. Hopefully they have them. This is not everything's fine, go back to work tomorrow event. And I think the charts are showing that where things are really struggling to come up. And zooming in here. If anyone's wondering, instead of if you use your mouse, that's how it zooms normally. But if anyone's wondering, I'm using the control button, fairly new feature on TradingView. If you hold it and you scroll, it will not lose the position where you're scrolling. So instead of, for example, if I scroll without, you can see where I lose it and you have to kind of bring it back and fight with it. But now you can just hold control and zoom right in, which is a wonderful feature. Thank you, TradingView. Okay, so prices rolled over. We've had that retracement back. We're broken under a 200 EMA, and we're showing a classic head and shoulders pattern. I think we're going to break to the downside. That downside would be my first target would be there. This is an idea that I've hashed out, that I've indicated, and let me do that a little more cleanly here. But you can see that price, once we break below that, pull back and drop away would be what I'd be looking for. But that's the S&P right there. And I've noticed as the S&P drops, the what do you call it? The Bitcoin has a tendency to go up. The fear and greed is shifting hands there a little bit. So we've had a nice candle. I think we're breaking, personally. That's what I see happening. We'll get back to that. Oil, we already touched on it in this rant, and what we have is flag. I'd be looking for a little more upside, or I don't know. I'm sitting on my hands. I'm not in this trade. I'm not trading the U.S. CAD. I'm not trading oil right now. I do have in another account an oil position on. Um, but that's a longer term account where I would not be trading CFDs. So moving on, we have gold. Gold, I love it. Perpetual bull. I'm happy to see it up at 17, 1720, 1730, 1740. Just even as we're sitting here, it's getting stronger. This to me is a flag, upside galore. Um, I'm in it for different reasons, but yeah, it's it's upside in my very convinced opinion. Um, it's breaking. It's going higher. Um, yeah. So if you notice down at the heat map, I'm not sure what it's doing, but I'm not. This is a beta version. I'm not sure why it's not painting any of those bears or lines or the signal lines or anything. It's just kind of flat. I don't know what the parameters are that it's missing, but yeah. So I'll work with the developer on that and see what we can how we can answer some of these. So gold, yeah, as I said, upside. It's been a couple strong days, and we will see. Silver, yet again, upside. We have a head and shoulders pattern inside of a channel, broken above EMAs, pushing up against. You can just see it just ratcheting, just like hammering on that wall, that trend line, that ascending channel. Um, yeah, I'm at a break-even position on this. I've mentioned this. This is a trade I've mentioned going back. Where are we here? To May 3rd. So I've been sitting on this one for a little while. And yeah, anyways, so that's a trade that I have highlighted. And then these ones are the Hong Kong indices, which is just for my own personal. So yeah, anyways, that's it's Wednesday and it's May 13th, and I just wanted to follow up, get some wild rants onto charts. If there's anything you want to look at, let's keep an eye on that on those few pairs. I have written down the odd yen. I think that is sizing up for a good sell, and we have a lot of confluence. We have the bear signal on the indicator. We have a double top forming. No, I know everyone, you staunch technicians out there, it's not a double top until it's come back here and broken. I get it. It's a flag at this point, but I think we are developing a double top. So yeah, thank you very much for watching the video, and I will be coming out with a Friday wrap up.